Okay, picture this. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, my shirt's glued to my back, and my room feels like an air fryer set to roast. This is disgusting, and when I say I 3D printed myself to be less hot, you're thinking sunglasses and thirst traps, right? But nah, I'm talking about literal survival here, because recently in Canada there's been a heat warning and my maple syrup lemonade can't survive that 40 degrees Celsius weather. So instead of just chilling, I engineer something to help me out. And I'm going to show you the whole DIY process. That means do it yourself from start to finish, because I want to show others how you can also create things to save your own asses. If you've ever wanted to make your own fix instead of shelling out for some overpriced corporate as seen on TV gadget, you're in the right spot. So here's the quick backstory. My AC does blast cold air, but it only does so in a small range because the vent just doesn't have enough pushing power. So I stick a fan on top and it just blocks the cold air. Womp womp. Therefore, it makes the room a sauna. So I started Googling vent boosters and surprised they exist. But they're all smart AI, Wi-Fi enabled with a Bitcoin miner inside and cost way too much. I don't want any of that, so my broken stubborn goes, can I 3D print my way out of this? I mean, if Emmett can build a double-decker couch in the Lego movie, I can easily build a little table, right? Okay, so the first thought is to just lift the fan above the vent. It's pretty simple, but here's the thing. Building it from wood means sawdust everywhere, and I can't really go outside right now because it's really hot. I also don't have the proper tools. I'd use clay, but I don't want to go outside and get that stuff, and I also don't have the giant spinny table. So 3D printing exists, I have a printer, so let's get started. So I grab my sketchbook, I go full on Emmett mode, master builder mode. But the idea here is I'm doodling cubes and weird triangles everywhere. Every idea looks great in my head, but as soon as pen hits the paper, it's chaos because I'm trying to recreate what I see in my head and I have to materialize it. Eventually, I settle on 2 chunky planks and then a flat top. Pretty basic, but it'll get the job done. I cut a big hole in the top for airflow and then punch circles in the legs to say filament, and I even add this little wall in the middle by the consequence of cutting out the 2 little circles. Does it make sense? If it doesn't, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to increase airflow, reduce how much plastic I use, and I also increase the strength of the table itself. Because now that the 2 holes are cut out, there's a wall in between, and that wall is actually stronger when you 3D print because the 3D printer puts a wall in there. Quick tip if you've ever wanted to build a stronger 3D printed object, but put another way, me explaining my designs versus designing. But now we actually gotta make this paper sketch into a CAD sketch. Pause. I'm just gonna say how much I hate how computer assisted design is called CAD, because that's the same thing as the Canadian currency, but I digress. So I start off by blocking out the base. 16 centimeters by 16 centimeters. Well, this is the largest thing I've ever designed. This is crazy. Okay. And since I'm a special little cookie, I build the item upside down so it's easier to print. So that means I'm making the vent hole first, or the top. I'm making the top first, and then I'll build the legs, because bottom up. Or I guess top down, depending on how you look at it. But when I make it in the computer, I'm like, something's missing. So it's bothering me, but I continue, right? This will come back later. I add the 2 plank legs, I'm adding my circles, and boom, we're rolling. And I'm done within like 5 minutes. But then I just want to make my design a bit more fancy, so I curve and fillet the sides, which just means I make them rounded a bit and smooth. And then I also add more holes to increase the airflow kind of on the top and around the sides, just to make it seem cooler. And also I save on plastic, because the more plastic you use to print, the longer it takes to print, and it just becomes a little bit annoying. So putting more holes on the top is good. And then something in me just felt like the center hole was bad. Like it was just big, it was a giant hole. So I add this line in there. I really want to like add in a rectangle like right here. And I add little holes in there to make it stronger. And this is going to be a big problem later. I wanted to take it out, but I'm like, it'll add to the stability, whatever. And at this point, I'm starting to think, am I over-engineering? Almost over-engineered thing ever. But it'll do. And export. Maybe, but if I have to look at this thing every day for the summer, I want to at least pretend I'm living in a sci-fi IKEA, or that I designed something for a sci-fi IKEA. Okay, it's go time, and we just click print. There's nothing too crazy here. I'm kind of scared that my printer's going to break eventually, but, it prints fine and really well. It prints, it finishes, and I peel it off. But as you can see, while I'm peeling it off, the middle sticks onto the build plate, which is the metal golden tray that I'm holding. And it doesn't break. It bends off. It's so weird. And it's only held together by these 2 little plastic pieces, which I didn't expect at all. It's fine, it holds it in place kind of. But it works. And that was the little random piece I was talking about. like the little bar in the middle, that's coming in pretty clutch because it turns out it can hold smaller items in the middle, especially the smaller backup fan. I didn't even plan to use my original design for. Emmett would be so proud right now, and it's a total accident that it works. I originally designed this design for a bigger fan, my soldering fan. But, if it works for a smaller fan, I'll take it. Or I guess sometimes you just get lucky. The process of design teaches you more than designing ever could, for real. Okay, so, you've been listening to me yap about this design. Does it actually work? It does, but... Okay, so the fan actually blows cold air from the vent, right? The table holds it up, but I will be honest, it could be a bit taller. Oh, I didn't think about how tall it is supposed to be. I'm honestly thinking 6 centimeters is fine. And maybe I could angle it because I would prefer if the air hit me as opposed to, just hitting the roof. And let's just do a flat version for now. So there's a few things I could maybe fix up, but that will be another version. And here's the thing that no one tells you about 3D printing. It's design, print, note down what doesn't work, design, print, note down what doesn't work. And if you don't fail, or if you don't even take down what didn't work, then did you even try 3D printing? This is just my version 1. There's going to be a few iterations. Maybe I'll post it, maybe I won't. You can always follow me on Blue Sky or Twitter or X. I will probably post an update there. But if I don't make a YouTube video, this is probably the end of this project. And the entire point of this video was for me to show, hey, you can take a picture, make it into reality, and go from there. In fact, I'll put this file down below so anyone can probably remix it, meme, or memify it, because I'm not going to lie, my vent table kind of sounds like vent table, a table where you can vent, whatever. But for me, making stuff is still just faster, cheaper, and way more fun than scrolling through Amazon for hours, and hopefully I can confer this to you, the listener. I'd rather be my own boss of what I make as opposed to someone bossing me around and telling me what to buy. Even if it means using Fusion 360, which is the CAD software I used, or computer-assisted design software I used, even if it means using that the hard way. I kind of just eyeball it, which is horrible, but okay, that's fine. I actually don't mind how it cuts in. I'm sure I pissed off a lot of people in my time-lapse with poor shortcuts and horrible design, but who cares? I'm no longer hot because of my 3D printing, referring to the title of the video. So, it's your turn. I really want to ask you, what's your weirdest problem that you'd solve with a 3D printer, cardboard, Legos, whatever, I don't care. Drop it in the comments. I'm really curious because I want to see if your problem is similar to any problems I face, and maybe I'd show you out and also design something to help solve that problem because, we grow by discussion. The final thing I want to leave you with is you don't need a fancy printer like I do. You just need paper because that's where the act of creation started. It starts with a dumb little sketch and then you go make something, anything. That's how you beat the heat. It would really help out if you hit that little red.
Said I never would know. You treat me like what's easy, Lord, was don't get me dirty. Get me just up.